pick time, and we saw potentially a little bit of Doomslayer coming out of etjx, and it will be the Bloomslayer. You were thinking about that all break. You saw that blue Doomslayer during the break, and you were like, I've got a name for that guy. Bloom guy. What does he go now? So speaking of blue, we have Nyx as well. I think quite standard so far. And then finished off with the Ranger, and then finished off with the Nyx. This is more of what we've been traditionally seeing, and I mean, like, you know, we can talk about it until the cows come home, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be either players will be experimentative, which we saw Kicks do earlier today, or it's more likely just by the ratio of the 3 games we've seen so far where players are sticking to that comfort zone, and both have been successful so far. Well, it also could be a map thing. You know, Ranger has stood the test of time on Blood Run. He has a lot of utility, obviously Dairob giving him some very interesting mobility options and ways to cut you off that a lot of other champions might necessarily struggle with. Doomslayer has received a nice improvement with his Berserk mode punches, his lunge punches being a little bit easier to really, you know, make the most out of now, I suppose. I'd be interested to see. A bit more consistent to hit. Now, on the subject of Doomslayer and Blood Run, we actually have the luxury of watching it in warm-up, which unfortunately you guys don't get to see. Sorry about that. But it's basically, how much will the Berserk help Doomslayer in duel specifically? Because with the exception of maybe a specific start, like on Blood Run near the Mega, which we do see a couple of times, how likely is it that a Doomslayer player is likely to actually try and use the melee? Because it's a big risk going point blank where melee is your only option. I don't know if we're going to see it much in duel, but if we do, who knows? We actually saw it quite a lot in Sacrifice, because Doomslayer seems to be very, very popular in Sacrifice at the moment. But, you know, that sort of the opposing team has a Doomslayer, goes for Berserk, so you just pop out your Gauntlet and try and, you know, out 1v1 him in the melee range. But in duel, that might be a little bit less consistent, considering you don't see as much of Doomslayer here. But there we go, an immediate fight coming out, and the Ghost Walk is going to have the advantage there because it gives the ability to just completely disengage. I think using that before he even fired a rocket said just how much he was focused on survival. etjx does not want to give up an early frag. Losing momentum this early on in this set can be quite a headache. And wow, the patience from guitarreichon to just sit there near Mega. I mean, knowing likely that etjx was likely to try and go down there and seize it, get back in the fight, but just the ambush. And we've seen ambushes popped much like this one so many times today, and he tries to go in for the lunge, but unfortunately actually still missed it. That sucks. The definition of a swing and a miss right there. We saw him literally swinging for the big haymaker, but didn't quite hit Anarchy, unfortunately. Was that just the equivalent of him tripping on his shoelaces? I mean, maybe. Poor guy. Unfortunately, he will die for it. It's now going to be actually a pop to the Dairob. This could be a risky decision to actually teleport to it, but no. Nice amount of rocket placement. Even though he is quite weak, he's still going to be able to win that 1v1, but guitarreichon going straight in for Sorlag now on a weak Ranger. This is probably going to be death, and it will be immediately. guitarreichon taking a nice clean first round. We've seen a lot of all-ins right there. Yeah, and on the brink of death, just popping the ability for almost like a why not scenario. But quite explosive, to say the least. Very quick, too. Nice turnaround, for sure.
Round 2, fight.
Especially after that first engagement, it almost looked like, you know, perhaps etjx was going to be in control, but unfortunately it wasn't really meant to be. Oh. Oh, another fight. Ghost Walk is still there, though. guitarreichon's going to have to be careful. Oh, goes in. Ghost Walk used immediately. Having to concede that rocket at the same time. I do wonder if etj actually sort of stayed where he was to make sure that when he reappeared, he could still get the rocket. Actually, it looks like he has made that exact play. Didn't quite work out, unfortunately, for him there, but you can understand why. You know, it's unlikely he's going to stay there and wait for the reappearing of the Ghost Walk, and at the same time, he still needs a rocket launcher. Those days probably only like to have a nail gun at this time, and again, goes for Berserk mode, but just isn't enough. Still takes a lot of damage. You have to remember, you don't actually get any form of damage mitigation or regeneration when you're in Berserk. So I feel like if you use it when you're near death, you will still be near death. I feel like fresh off the spawn, that was very much like you kind of had to try and go for it, but this has been from one fast round straight into another. On the verge of a 3-0 in what, 5 minutes? If that. This has been a complete one-sided just destruction at the moment. guitarreichon just looking one step ahead. Is he going to go for Anarchy start again? Yes, he will. Doomslayer in response from etjx, I think, just trying to go away from that Nyx. To be fair, like he's getting guitarreichon low before he goes to the Berserk. He just doesn't have enough health left himself to survive the fight. And you're going to take damage as you go in too. You've still got to close in that effective range, and getting someone with an LG or something like that, you're going to take so much damage to get in. guitarreichon pushing in full speed ahead. But very important fight to win that. Because not only is it taking guitarreichon's Anarchy away for the whole round, but also, before losing a champion himself, he for once has the lead. against the Sorlag with this much stack. You wonder how long.
Heavy armor pops the Berserk to try and do it safely. Does get it, but obviously Berserk mode could be gone for a little while now.
Well spent to make sure he has the heavy. He's able to sort of go toe-to-toe with that stack that Sorlag has, and with that missed rail, actually diving in full speed, not actually worrying about the acid tick. He's got the health to take it, so that was just good maths, really.
He did pick up the heavy armor. Obviously, having heavy armor and a full stack of health means you can't afford to be as aggressive as you want.
But you can see how much, like, when he had all that armor and all that health, like, how much less he had to really worry about the tick over time. He's going to reappear, and he's going to get one frag on the board, so we can see a comeback.
Die, though. Picked up the mega health immediately. This could be huge for guitarreichon to still take this round. Mega health and the heavy armor. etjx, you have to be super careful now.
Oh, no.
That's not good. Got the ghost walk out. He's still here. He's still here. What would make him do that?
I honestly don't know. Maybe he expected to sort of reappear and get something like some sort of surprise rocket, maybe a surprise rail for big damage, but even then guitarreichon would have survived! Is he going to turn this one round before he even reaches the mega? He's got the mega, but is that enough? No way. I mean, what can really be said about the end of that round? Staying a little bit too long, overstaying his welcome indeed, and being in a couple of situations where he really should not have been where he was.
That was sad to see, unfortunately, because he had a lot of potential to win that round still in the end, and it looks like without wasting any time, already Blood Covenant is going to be the next map, so the players are already more than ready to go into the next one. But still, like, that was the first time that etjx had a significant lead. You know, he won that first fight very convincingly, was able to still establish that control once again, especially after, you know, potentially riskily going for the heavy armor as Doomslayer, but obviously still paid off for it because it did end up winning him the 1v1, having that armor advantage. But then making a couple of questionable decisions, using the Ghost Walk to disengage out of a fight because he was massively losing the fight, but to then aggressively use it immediately to go in to continue the fight when it looked like guitarreichon was more than happy for that to happen.
Well, I feel like
Ranger still pick up the mega health, but then still lose the 1v1. That is not a confident look.
I feel like with the next play in particular, there was no real reason for guitarreichon to not stay there. I know we saw a couple of situations before that where we would see ETJ pop the Ghost Walk and then stay where he was on anticipation of guitarreichon moving to another location, maybe to try and control one of the items, where essentially ETJ would then reappear in that exact situation to collect the item that is near that area. Maybe he expected to do that again. Either way, I think that it was just came down to just a bit of decision making, really. You know, is guitarreichon likely to move away from here? He's taken very little damage. Does he want what's around this location? And I guess just didn't really calculate it too good. And that's why he lost the Nyx. Then ultimately, very similar turn of events, lost the Ranger too, because in two situations he was somewhere he shouldn't have been at.
Do you think we see a champion change here?
I don't think it was a champion issue, right? I think it was just came down to if he's that kind of decision making with any of the champions will kind of put you in the same situation. And funny enough, actually, Nyx is the one that lets you get out with the invisibility, right?
But we are going into champion select anyway. I mean, to be fair, that's actually, it's a lineup of 3 champions. That ability does get them out of a fight quite well. You know, I mean, the Nyx Ghost Walk, literally invincibility and invisibility for a little while. The Ranger Dire Orb, meaning that not a lot of characters can chase it down when it's reached its full distance. And obviously the Berserk mode, giving him that initial boost of speed. It is 3 abilities that can get you around the map fast, can get you out of a fight brilliantly, or can be used to get you into a fight if you want to as well. But it seemed like, despite all that utility, ETJ just wasn't really able to use it in the correct way.
Well, we saw no time wasted going into Blood Covenant. So does that mean that ETJ is like, right, like this is my comfortable map? You know, because the fact, surely if you're wasting no time and you pick a map straight away, it must mean because you really like that map. So we very well might see a turnaround here. We might at least see him hold up a bit more of a fight if he's on a map that he much prefers. And it does complement all of the champions that he selected. Doomslayer and Nyx, both really good on this map. I mean, even Ranger, yeah, all 3 of these champions do a fantastic job on this map. Ranger gets some great starts. Not as good of a start with the slightly lower ammo count that you get on some of those weapons now, but still, it'll be weapons that he'll have over the opponent at the very least at the beginning of a round.
Speaking of beginning, guitarreichon able to lose a 1v1. etjx actually bested him in a quick railgun 1v1 from a distance in the warm-up. So even though it was just the warm-up, you know, he's at least thinking, yeah, I got these.
Let's do this.
Let's do this.
5 seconds away.
I just won the first unofficial 1v1. That's how you start things off.
And that's one of the changes as well. Enemies float around in the background of Blood Covenant. We saw that. Unfortunately, you guys didn't, but that's another change.
Wait. All right, so hang on a minute.
Okay,
are we in the warm-up
seconds
still? Are we started?
No, unfortunately, the warm-up has long ended, my friend. That was a 5-second gauntlet kill. Pretty much in record time. Is he going for the fastest round known to man? Here comes a Berserk, but the punches still failing to miss. And I actually feel like part of that is guitarreichon knowing how to juke it. He's moving in range where the lock-on applies, and he's immediately moving to the left or right, where it is struggling to lock onto him. Oh no.
Actually, the only thing he's rip and tearing is the air itself. Nothing really connected whatsoever.
Rip and tear the air. Oh,
Today.
were we going to see a less... That could have been a 1 minute round.
This might be, they're still playing.
Oh, no, he hit the pot!
He gave himself away! There's no launch challenges there! What are you doing? Oh, the noisy bars. Forever the enemy of guitarreichon.
Those punks.
Ruining his -1 minute round.
I mean, it wouldn't be punk rock if he wasn't smashing a few things, would it? Come on now.
Priceless swing bars is why not. But 1 minute and 4 seconds, the first round is gone. This is ruthless aggression coming out of guitarreichon.
But I feel like that's going to really sort of mentally scramble you being on the receiving end of that, because that was fast indeed. I mean, a 1 minute round, right? And it was confidence. He went in for the gauntlet straight away. It's the kind of play that you don't really see in top-level duels, right? It's stuff where people are just that next level of
I
loose
can't
play.
remember the last time I
comfort.
saw a 4-second gauntlet kill, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Well, maybe it was the last thing that etj expected.
Expect the unexpected. Oh, he knows that's just whiffed. He's going to have a little bit of time to get some damage. And look at this again. This just willingness to just be so aggressive at this time. So much damage. Catches him outside the Ghost Walk, but now is actually dangerously low himself. Seeing that etj has a rocket launcher, so has to be careful. If anything connects wayward now, he will die anyway.
But if he's low and has to disengage, then at the very least, his opponent is having to do the same thing. You know, if they both don't want to fight, then it's unlikely they're going to be at major risk at that time, because neither of them want to fight, right? They're going to put way more focus on trying to establish some distance.
Ghost Walk has been popped just sort of in the neutral at the moment. Used aggressively, but doesn't get as much damage. Still, guitarreichon able to get away with some health.
Even though etj had the jump on him, he's the one on the back foot right here. You know, guitarreichon, he has the high ground.
Uh-oh, he's got nowhere to hide.
Oh,
An
no.
immediate snap to rail. Swapping, quick swap. Whatever you want to call it. The term escapes me, but a very, very confident first frag of this next round immediately. And etj onto the Doomslayer again.
Well, speaking of quick switch, there wouldn't be a quick switch without Doomslayer coming into the party, but here comes the LG duels, but he's taking loads of damage. Actually does get a punch off, but it's not enough. guitarreichon just has an extra smidgen of health and still survives.
But guitarreichon didn't even go for the gauntlet there to try and out 1v1 at point blank.
I don't think he needs to.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't even need to. He just stuck to the LG, and unfortunately, to be fair, like etj did a lot of damage first. You might have just assumed. Oh my lord.
So he used the jump pad, but was not ready for guitarreichon to be waiting. He went up the jump pad and he wasn't even watching his back. He was not prepared for that fight to take place. I feel like it kind of seems like guitarreichon is just going into this more prepared, right? There are certain outcomes where consistently now etj is just not ready for certain fights, and he's getting caught off guard every single time.
But for them, though, I believe that Mega Health was just about respawn, so realistically, there's no reason that guitarreichon wouldn't be there waiting for it. There just might be an element of impatience coming out of etj at the moment.
And in a very quick fashion, guitar is in a match point. And it has been quick fashion. I just forced the Ghost Walk too, as he's not going to have that for a long time.
It's been one of the fastest sets so far, I think, of the Dreamhack qualifiers overall. And already, just consistently, guitarreichon is just playing around that Ghost Walk perfectly. Uh-oh. And he's not missing anything either. You can tell he is supremely comfortable at the moment. And etj doesn't even bother with the Berserk mode that time. Wouldn't have... Actually, don't think he wouldn't have killed at all at that point anyway.
He's not even going for Mega. Like, he's not even going for it. He
no.
just caught him going in for the orb, and that was, to be completely honest, I feel like it was quite a clear, distinct difference in skill between the two players as well.